or we're an extension of where our family has gone through on their journey. With my Lola, she actually instilled a lot of just the human aspects of who I am. And that directly has carried me through the years to get through any highs and lows that I've ever had in my life.
From both parents, mom and dad, it was all about working hard. I mean, it was always, you've got to work hard, you've got to get good grades, you've got to do whatever it takes in your career, work overtime if you need to, whatever it is to be successful.
My grandpa died when my mom was 6, so I never got to meet him. All I had was really memories of what my mom had remembered. My Lola didn't really talk about it much. I think it was probably just a really sensitive for her. The things that she was able to do, I think mostly that instilled in me is just hard work and to not give up. She was working until, the last few weeks that she was alive. And growing up, I was constantly with her at work. She was an executive director of a Samhan Senior Center, which it served Filipino-American veterans and senior citizens in the county. That was donation-based. They had, activities for them. They served them hot food. So I was there all the time growing up, and I think public service, hard work, and just being, a decent person was the biggest things that she instilled in me.
So a big thing for me, my grandma actually lives with me at home, or my BETHANY in Vietnamese. And I think a big thing that they've taught me is just to work hard and really respect your elders. I think it's a really big thing that I've learned in the Asian community. It's a much more collectivistic community, I'd say, versus individualistic.
I was really blessed to grow up with elders who taught me about aloha. And it's kind of cliche, but I grew up in Hawaii and we were always taught aloha spirit. And I think the greatest showers of the aloha spirit are our elders and our children, our keiki. But for my elders, they've taught me to just embrace everybody with that same aloha as if everybody's family. It's just every person you meet, giving them the opportunity to share joy with you and share love with you.
My Mangwai, she taught me, I think I was either in high school or college, and I was having a fight with my boyfriend at the time. And she told me in Vietnamese, you shouldn't yell at the people that you love. That has totally stuck with me because I feel like personality-wise, people can say I'm pretty feisty, and and that boyfriend that I had in college, he's my husband now. That has been one of the building blocks of how to be a professional and how to work well with others and group projects, or even being parts of committees or something. So that nugget definitely has transformed today in terms of, if there's people that I'm having disagreements with, there's a better way to solve these problems.
I think something that, and I didn't quite realize how obvious it was till I was thinking more about this, that I learned from my family is just how important it is to stay close, stay together, and always kind of look out for each other. And I think I definitely learned that from my mom. I mean, she's the oldest of her siblings, and she even as time has gone on, always looks out for them and makes sure she helps to take care of anything. And I'm kind of the oldest of my cousins, so I kind of feel that same type of, not responsibility, but just I want to always kind of be there and look out for them.
Everything that I've been blessed with, sort of the way I look, the way I think, my body, everything belongs to this river of a family. The people who came before me have developed a set of talents, have developed specialty, and sort of their capability. All that just gets passed on from one generation to the next. And so I am operating on borrowed talent and borrowed time. And I feel like my job then is to set it up so that I can pass that on to the next generation.
My grandma she was such a loving and caring person. She came into my life a bit later. She didn't come to America until I was about 10. Basically, she was a kindergarten teacher in Asia. And so she was always so nurturing, considerate. She always wanted to learn, and she always wanted to see us learn. Having a teacher background and having her being such a, fostering and taking care of such young children really channeled into her personality.
I think that was another thing, was she put a lot of emphasis on education. Like not going to school and not doing homework and none of that stuff was acceptable. We were constantly being drilled, and she wanted us to be as smart and as educated as possible, I think, just to give us, you know, kind of a level playing field.
Being a person of integrity, that's huge, because it's not just about you, but you're a representative of your family. And being like, your word is your bond. If you give somebody your word, then that means something. Those kinds of values, which are just really, and family values. You take care of your family no matter what.
One of the things that I think that I really learned from my parents, because I can share that my dad and my mom were not very, well, especially my dad was not very, he didn't share a lot verbally, right? He never ever, for the longest time, said out loud that I love you, right? He never said the words, but I always knew that he loved me because of his actions, what he did for the family, how he showed up. And so when I was thinking about coming here today, the thing that really stood out to me was showing up. You know, just showing up when somebody needs you, sharing the best of yourself with your family. So my mom, she's a great cook, so that's how she shows her love, right? She just cooks all the time and feeds everybody. And my dad, he's a retired electrical engineer. So he fixes and makes everything. So if anything goes wrong in our house, he will be the first person to come and fix it. And that's how he showed up. He was always there for that.
I like to come into like every like room or place I enter with just like, every person in there should like receive some form of love, you know? And I think it just, any sort of like acknowledgement of a person or inviting someone who might feel excluded, just that. They just taught me to really look into my heart and just like give it to everyone. And I think they taught me like you can give so much of your heart, and your love and your kindness is never gonna run out. So there's so much to go around, and I think I keep that with me.
Definitely not like people that have to be related to you. Family is like what you make of it. It's like the bond between people.
Well, my grandfather, Fu Yunshu, was he was somebody who loved celebration, and he constantly wanted to celebrate just about everything. And, you know, he also had a real appreciation for the arts and for the sciences. He had this, you know, very fierce sense of independence and excellence. I mean, my grandfather had this real high bar for what he wanted all of us to achieve.
My parents are amazing. My mom, she came over here when she was maybe 7 or 8. She came through Terminal Island with my grandma. So it was a little bit different, and she was very young. I mean, she can barely remember that before she died. And then my dad didn't come over till he was in college, and he went to Utah State and studied engineering there. Definitely, they were both immigrants. They both were super scrappy, worked their whole lives to provide everything for us that they didn't have. And my dad, the same thing. You gotta work hard, get good grades in school, and even do more, harder. I mean, despite being supposedly, you know, the successful minority that Asians are supposedly, you know, called and stuff, you know, we still have a long way to go in terms of getting those management positions, that kind of thing. So they knew that, they both knew it.
Yeah, I learned a lot from my Lolo.
Yeah.
That he taught us how to do things, whatever. I learned everything. It is from Lolo.
Yeah.
Our DNA comes from a pool of DNA, and our talent comes from a pool of talent that is part of this family. Then I think it contextualized, at least for me, like why there is this connectivity between myself and those who've gone before me. If you buy into that, then it sets up what you are responsible for future generation. And so for us, it's something that we talk often about, sort of what are you doing, not just for the world, but sort of for future generations, that's based on the talent that you've been given in your family.
Within that line of our elders, we actually start to realize, again, like why we are who we are, whether it be directly taught to you and passed down or indirectly. I think it's inevitable. You kind of find that. And it's such a key experience for someone like my age to understand that, because definitely for the first chunk of my 20s, I felt lost and didn't know why I was doing things. But Now I feel more at home and at center of where I am than I've ever been in my entire life.